There we go.
Take two, everybody. Technical difficulties. But we're back, and we're going to finish this up strong because we do Michigan proud around here. So, John, what better way to finish it up before we get to our last question is with the biggest game of them all, the game that started the conversation and the game that's going to finish it. The game. Well, what's your take on this game? Do you see
Yeah,
another Michigan win, or the tide's going to go back towards Ohio State?
I do see another Michigan win. I have Michigan at 12-0 for the season. So Michigan in this game, it's interesting because Ryan Day has to be fighting for his life in terms of, eventually they're going to kick him out if he doesn't win against Michigan. It may take a few years, but
Mm.
people are already starting to say John Cooper. So I think he's going to call a great game, but at the end of the day, they have the same problems they did last year, and they have even more questions now because their quarterback is gone. CJ Stroud is off to the Texans. So I think from a
Mm-hmm.
quarterback perspective, they're in trouble. I don't think Kyle McCord is as good, and Devin Brown I think could be, but
Mm-hmm.
we don't know because he missed spring. Wide receiver, of course, they're going to be amazing, but questions at quarterback, questions at O line, questions at secondary. Are they going to be able to put it all together? I think the answer is not against Michigan. Michigan is going to win in the big house.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you brought all that up, John, because there's a lot of question marks there. Normally with Ohio State, you hear, oh, they're good in this area, they're great in this area, wide receiver, quarterback, what, etc. Whatever it may be, they're always great to good.
Mm-hmm.
But you said they have a lot of questions. If I'm Ohio State, I don't. That's a little worrisome because Ohio State's not supposed to have questions. They're supposed to be
Right.
solid as a rock, so to speak, and that they're supposed to be the ones that's setting every position. And Michigan's supposed to be the one that has the questions. But the roles have
Mm-hmm.
reversed. The little brother is now picking on the big brother, so to speak, and it's
Yep.
very interesting. And the thing I want to
Yeah.
ask you, John, do you think Blake Corum will be healthy for this game this time?
I
Because
really
last
hope
year he
so.
had that
Mm-hmm.
ankle injury that kept him out, and it hurt his Heisman chances. That's why the voters didn't put him in there, and a lot of Michigan fans, including probably yourself, was thinking that he should have at least been considered as one of the finalists because of his numbers.
Yeah.
But
So Blake
my
Corum.
thing is,
Yeah.
and you can. Oh, go ahead, John.
Okay. Um. So Blake Corum is, I think, going to be used very lightly in the first half of the season, um, because he'll make an appearance in the beginning of
Mm-hmm.
games, but Donovan Edwards and Ben Hall and Cole Cabana are more than
Mm-hmm.
capable of beating East Carolina, UNLV, Bowling Green, and Rutgers without the help of Blake Corum much. Blake Corum's going to be saved for games like Michigan State, um, maybe Minnesota, Penn State, Maryland, and of course Ohio State. And he's going to want to play a lot in that game because he missed playing in that game
Mm-hmm.
last year, other than 6 yards, right? But he
Mm-hmm.
basically wasn't in the game. He wasn't really a factor. He was injured, but he still tried to compete,
Mm-hmm.
and that was admirable that he tried, but he was in no condition. So I think he's going to want to light it up against Ohio State, and JJ's going to throw as well. Donovan Edwards is going to be a factor in the receiving game and in the pass game, and in the run game. Colston Loveland, look out because I think he's going to have a game. Um, and JJ's going to run the ball a lot too. So it's going to be a very dynamic offense. And Ohio State still won't have the defense. I just don't think they're going to have what they need on defense to stop it for 4 quarters. Could they stop it for a half again like they did last time? Yeah, I think they could stop it for a half. But Michigan, you gotta have the horses and the talent and the coaching to go all 4 rounds, all 4 quarters. And I just don't think Ohio State can do it.
Now, one quick question for you before we wrap up today's interview preview. In this game, do you feel that this game will be won through the air or on the ground for Ohio State? If you're taking your Michigan, we're looking at the defensive side. What is Ohio State's best chance to beat you, through the air or on the ground?
Through the air. I mean, that's how they were able to almost beat Georgia. They almost beat Georgia
That's fair.
through the air.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think that's what's going to happen.
I mean, the reason why I bring that question up to you, John, is because Ohio State has been known in past where you think, oh, they're just going to throw the ball, throw it all over the yard, and then their running backs go off for huge games. And it's like, where has this been this whole time? Because they've had great quarterbacks that could just throw, but a lot of people forget they also do great running backs. Sorry for the interruption. Go ahead, John.
Yeah. So I think Michigan's gonna win this game. I think they're gonna do it comfortably because Ohio State has a quarterback question. They have a secondary question. They have an O-line question. And I just don't see that they're going to be able to do it. I think it could be an even bigger victory than this last one, because this last one was at Columbus, and we were missing our best player. Now you can make an argument that JSN was missing for Ohio State, but I think Blake Corum is much more of an impact, whereas Ohio State could just keep going with Marvin Harrison Jr. and Egbuka. They were fine. So I think it could be an even bigger victory this time.
Yeah, it surely could be. Now, the last question I have for you, John, and for this Michigan preview is what everyone's talking about is the Big Ten going forward. Yeah. How does conference realignment affect Michigan? Because now the status quo, you avoided UCLA, John. Michigan didn't want to play them. Yeah. Now there is no running from it, as they would say. Now Michigan's going to face USC, going to face UCLA, and Oregon and Washington when they get there.
Yeah. So it's tough. It's interesting. I think on the one hand, Michigan might benefit because of the lack of divisions, because they've been in the Big Ten East. They've had to face Michigan State, Ohio State, Penn State every single year. But I think that USC, UCLA, Oregon, Washington, they're gonna quickly realize that they're facing Big Ten defenses who can throttle them. I think that they're all underestimating what is to come, and I think that do I think that USC could stand with the big guys in the conference? Sure, I do. Even Oregon from time to time, but UCLA and Washington are probably going to have some trouble. I could see them being kind of like mid-tier. I could see Oregon being as good as maybe a Penn State level, and USC I think is the only one out of the 4 that can contend with the top consistently.
Now, the interesting thing about it is is the Pac-12 is bringing a lot of offense. Do you think Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State, and all these other teams that are already, and of course Iowa, who's known for their defense, can handle these high-powered offenses? Because obviously USC is not going to have Caleb Williams. Bo Nix is probably more than likely going to be gone. Michael Penix, and etc. But if they keep recruiting at the rate, getting these great quarterbacks and great offenses, how much trouble do you think them coming into the Big Ten will give to all the defenses in the Big Ten, not just Michigan specifically?
I think they're going to have to realize that the Big Ten plays defense, and some of these other conferences don't to the same level. I think you know, are like, and remember, Michigan is used to playing a tough offense. Like Ohio State has been the statistical #1 offense the last 2 years. So Michigan is used to playing a very like speedy and difficult offense. We do it every year against Ohio State, and in the last 2 years, Michigan has beat Ohio State head to head. USC with Caleb Williams wasn't ranked #1 statistically. It was Ohio State, I believe, both years. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Ohio State both years. So or can't do any better than #1 statistical #1 statistical offense. So there you go.
And those are all great points. Those are all great points. And as we wrap this interview up, John, I want to appreciate you for coming on, talking all things Michigan, even through our minor technical difficulties. But where can people find you? Where can they chat with you if they'd like to get involved and talk some Michigan football? Even if you're an Ohio State fan, talk some trash with you if they want it.
So you can find me on Michigan Wolverines Live at the Voice of College Football every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. I also host Big Ten Live, the Ocho, every 8 p.m. Eastern for the most part, although we're going to rotate a bit over the next month or two. You can find me on Twitter at John Diadamo, Threads, you name it. IG is J.A. Diadamo. I mean, I'm kind of all over. You can find me.
And with that being said, I want to thank you all for joining us. And as they say, see y'all next time. Thank y'all for being here.
Go Blue, everybody. Go